Hey everyone, you made it to our show, Oak Road Diaries. It's a podcast where we get to take a journey into the lives of different experts, and we get to explore their roots and their own self-care practices.
In each episode, we dive deep into their personal philosophies, daily rituals, and transformative experiences from their lives, which offer all of us valuable insights and practical tips for our own well-being.
Join us as we uncover the wisdom behind intentional living, one story at a time. In this episode, we're joined by a man whose life's work has literally helped thousands, from inmates to CEOs, athletes to law enforcement officers, find the peace in the storm of the emotions.
Dr. Christian Conte is one of the nation's leading experts in emotional management and anger resolution. He's a licensed professional counselor and a certified domestic violence counselor, and a level 5 anger management specialist. Dr. Conte he spent decades teaching people how to transform reactive behavior into intentional, mindful action.
He's the creator of the groundbreaking yield theory. It's a philosophy and a practical framework that teaches us how to truly listen, validate, and explore the options in even the most emotionally charged situations. At its core, yield theory isn't about suppressing the emotions. It's about understanding them so deeply that we can respond rather than react.
We'll explore how anger, when truly understood, how it can become a powerful teacher, how vulnerability and non-attachment lead to strength, and why emotional education should be just as essential as reading and math.
If you've ever said something you regretted, felt overwhelmed by emotion, or struggled to connect with others in moments of tension, this episode is truly for you.
So let's slow down, breathe deep, and walk through the fire of emotion together with Dr. Christian Conte. Pocono Mountains, we get some house and turn it into this idea where people can come and vacation in a cool place, but come and kind of go home with tools that they can put in their toolbox to help them to really exercise more self-care principles in their life. So don't just go on vacation just to go, but like actually get something from it besides just, man, I really wish I was still there. You know, something they can apply to their actual life. And so that morphed into, you know, instead of buying a place, let's just do a retreat. We can kind of rent locations, just move retreats around, bring people together, experts, and then have people sign up and just everything's taken care of, your food, your lodging, and everything. You pay one price for everything. And we actually had everything planned to do that last year in southern Utah, and our brand wasn't nearly big enough. And so we then kind of took a step back. We said, let's just build this brand out more and build out a community and figure out what the heck we even are, you know? And that kind of morphed into the Oak Road Diaries.
You got a cool vibe about you, dude.
I practice what I teach. I mean, I've been doing this work for 27 years. I'm 51, so
What?
I live my message.
Well, you look good for 51, dude. I mean,
thanks, man. I like to
51,
thank the 5-minute beard dye stuff. And, I can dye my beard, make myself look younger.
Is that what you do?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing that for a while.
That's awesome.
I'm not letting go.
You're not letting go. Hey, listen, I like a good gray. My thing with me is we've got some Irish in us, and we just get this. Like my beard, there's like some red that comes out in it. And so I'm just like, maybe one day I'll get that Hungarian side of us that'll come through, because they're usually darker. And, they got to get that salt and pepper. And I don't know if I got blessed with those genes. I got the leprechaun genes.
Are you guys have a counseling background? Do you have mental health background?
Not at all. No, not at all, dude.
I'm finance.
If anything, Jared's got a finance. I've been in healthcare since last 18 years now.
Okay.
So I work in medicine. Jared works in finance, and as our profile states, man, we're just two brothers that we live this intentional life that we're just trying to raise awareness. One of our pillars is the mental pillar, is diving into the mental health of things. And right now, obviously, May and June being heavily mental awareness, especially June being mental health. Not that we purposely signed you up in this or you purposely signed up in that. It just kind of worked out that we're talking about it. You know, it might be a couple months for your show to even come out, but no backgrounds at all. We live this self-care practice lifestyle. You know, daily self-care practices. We just put it into what we call 7 pillars of transformation. So if you're living according to these 7 pillars, you're going to live a happier, fuller, more present lifestyle, which should make you happier.
Yeah.
and not this destination that we need to go on to vacation just to live that happy life. So,
Yeah, and it'll help you in this
yeah,
transformation process, right? I mean, life is all about evolution. And, our
yep,
motto is to help you and to guide you from default to intentional living. And so as we talk to individuals like yourself, you've got a tool or a couple of tools that we'll throw in the old toolbox here for ourselves and for the audience. And of course, there'll be certain principles and things that we learn from it. But, I think we just take a step back. We always like to give a kind of a short intro of the whole point. That is the point, but Oak Road Diary is the name and kind of where it came from. Sam and I grew up on Oak Road in PA, actually. We're from PA. And so
yep,
we grew up in just kind of northeastern PA. It's near Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, if you're familiar with that area.
Okay.
Kind of
Yeah.
Allentown
Yeah.
area,
Yeah.
Bethlehem Steel. So that whole area. I mean, you got Pittsburgh, right? You guys had Carnegie Steel, and then U.S. Steel.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
So we were the competitors. But anyway, we grew up on Oak Road. The whole idea is we think who we are is really a product of a lot of it is of course nurture, but a lot of it is nature as well. And so this nurturing, we just think that if you look back to someone's beginnings and how they've evolved to get to where they are, we think there's a lot of learnings that we can kind of unpack along the way. And so we're equally as interested in knowing who you are now and how you became to who you are now. And so that's kind of maybe a little difference about our podcast compared to other ones. It's more of a long form podcast, we only have so much time here, obviously, but we just kind of let the conversation flow. So that's kind of a little nutshell background of who we are and what we're trying to accomplish.
I love it.
so tell us about who Christian, the child of who Christian is. So we're going all the way back to the roots, right? Obviously, you are who you are right now, but let's strip away all those accolades and everything that you become. Who were you back in the day?
I was always a compassionate person. I have wonderful parents. Came from a family, an older brother, older sister. But my mom used to read to me when I was a little, we go way back when I was a little boy. She'd read stories to me, Aesop's fables, or she'd just tell me stories. So I was really drawn to storytelling and the depths of parables and what you can learn from that. So it's neat because I teach through storytelling now and have throughout my whole career. But when you ask about childhood, like that's it. I learned a lot about how to be compassionate when I was very young. I also grew up I'm a Generation X guy, so like you're not going to offend me. Like, there's nothing you can say to offend me.
Right.
We grew up pretty tough. That's how it was. I laugh when I see some of the things on social media. TikTok, I like TikTok.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and you'll see young people and they'll say, was it really like, did you really drink out of the hose or something like that? Yeah, we were
Heck
kicked
yeah,
out
we
all
did.
day long.
Yeah.
Heck
We couldn't come
yeah.
back inside, man.
I mean,
Couldn't come back inside during the day.
no,
now,
you got.
now Jared and I'm 36, Jared's 37. So even though we have that age gap, we
still
can
have
relate
that.
a lot to those things.
Yeah.
We still had it. Yeah.
Listen, you want to make
Nice.
sure the hose runs for like a minute or so to get the warm
You
water
can't drink
out.
this straight up out of it when it's fresh, man.
And you know what? When I was a kid, like I was like, that's cool. I like the warm water. And no one told me don't drink it right then. Matter of fact, I don't think it was until I was a teenager that I realized that when my dad put the insecticide to spray in it, I probably should have
Yep.
drank out of it afterward. Um,
Yeesh.
so I'm sure some of all that dialed into who I am today. Um, but also the other thing was, whereas compassion was central to my upbringing, being well-rounded was. My dad was a college professor. My mom was a high school teacher. So I grew up in a tougher area. Back then, fights were just a normal part of life, getting into fights. My brother's 7 years older than I am, so hanging around his friends. I was smaller. I didn't win a lot of fights when I was real young, so I wanted to learn to fight. I didn't like bullying. It drove me nuts to see that people would bully other people. So I knew, and I'm 265 pounds today.
You said you were small. I'm like, what is this guy talking
No,
about?
when I was young, I was small, and I remember thinking, I don't ever want to be in a vulnerable spot where I can't take care of myself. So
Yeah.
I got into martial arts. I got into lifting weights. We did Muay Thai kickboxing since the time I was real young, and that certainly shaped me as to be somebody who could stand up for other people, who could stand up for themselves. When I was going into high school, so my mom was an English teacher at the high school, and she was super strict. Like I laugh because, to this day, I still wouldn't cuss in front of my mom. Like I still wouldn't. Like she had a lot of respect. Like her last year of teaching, there were gangs coming up in the schools, and this one group decided not to have a fight in her hallway. I was like, that's respect right there.
I mean,
you know.
this reminded me of that movie that that writer that the teacher that was writing in the inner city that they
Oh,
all respected her, and I can't remember the movie what it's called, but
yeah. I
it
mean, she's
definitely
like this big, but like she was
they
very,
had mad
very.
respect for her. Yeah,
And a lot of people would write in back to her after they left and say how grateful they were for her discipline. I'm sure a lot of people hate her going through school. But anyway, I remember her saying when I went into high school, she said, I better never find out you ever watch a fight. Because again, we're talking about the 80s, early 90s, and kids would circle up and just fight. And
hmm
so as she was a teacher at the high school, so I was thinking to myself, I would jump in and I would break up these fights. She was thinking about ninth grader breaking up fights of upperclassmen, and the kids would get on me. But I was scared of them, but I was way more scared of my mom. So I was like, I got to break it. I got to be able to break it up. So I mean, so being able to take care of myself physically was that shaped me a lot. That shaped me a lot, and to stand up for people who couldn't stand up for themselves. So I think those two things. I appreciate you asking. I really don't. That's not something I talk about. I always jump on podcasts and things, but I really only talk about whatever can help people. Like that's my focus. It's really
sure.
not my personal life. It's more about the work and what I can do.
Oh yeah, we get that. We found, at least in me in my personal life, I I love talking about the personal lives of individuals, right? Whatever they're willing to open up and be vulnerable about, because it breaks down all those walls, the walls that people know of who you are. Um, Obviously, I'm not going to pry. If someone doesn't want to talk about it, then I'm not going to be like, well, you need to talk to me right now about it. Like, no, man. Like you let us know anything that you want to bring up, and our hope is that our listeners can see a different side of you, right? A different side. Like you have a lot of accolades. So a lot of people, they feel intimidated by that. They don't feel comfortable talking to people sometimes. And the whole point of our show is to break down those barriers. Hey, this guy is a down to earth dude that also has done all this stuff with the work. And that's kind of what the whole intention behind of all this.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I hate pretentiousness. It drives me nuts. I
Awesome.
go more formally, like in a professional setting by Dr. Conte, precisely because I come in a t-shirt and jeans, and I get, there's no pretentiousness. So for me, like I do work in maximum security prisons, I do work with big time athletes. So coming in on a first name basis, or like some TV shows, I'll be like doctor in your first name. That never resonated with me. Like I definitely, as far as that aspect, like I go by Dr. Conti or Doc, but there's no pretentiousness, and I strive to make people feel incredibly comfortable, because my tagline for 27 years has been the world boils down to two kinds of people. That's it. And think about this. Now, I've worked with thousands of people from all over the world, maximum security prisons, death row,
Yep.
big time athletes, Hall of Fame athletes, everyday people, celebrities on TV. It comes down to two kinds of people. So you have people who have issues and dead people, and that's it. People with issues and dead people. So if you're
That's all of
alive,
us,
you
right?
have issues.
You
We
got
What you're
all
issues.
have
saying is
issues.
you got issues. Yeah.
We all have issues. We
We
all
all
have
Ain't
got
issues.
that the
how we
truth?
handle it, man, is what's different, right?
Well, and
Yes,
that's what's
yes.
beautiful about this, and so I love the idea of you just took charge from an early age. You just wanted to defend yourself. You saw yourself. Now you were shorter. How tall are you now?
I'm 6 feet.
Yes,
Six
man.
feet, 265.
Yeah,
That's a,
man, you
that's a
grew.
big dude right there, man.
Yeah.
That's football status right
But
there.
you focused on, you said Muay Thai, obviously lifting weights as well. What were some other mixed martial arts that you
So I did something called Sejong Taekwondo, which was our teacher was actually a Catholic priest, and he had been a hermit for like a year and a half. He was a bad dude, and
Just make sure this
it's
priest are out of yet.
it's so cool. And he did he created his own system called Sejong Taekwondo, which was a combination of like Aikido and Taekwondo. Um,
Nice.
and so I loved some of the stuff. And then from Aikido is I like the push pull element of it, not so much jumping into all these wrist locks that aren't very practical when you're in a real street fight. But that's why, like, so Muay Thai was really big, and it wasn't called MMA or mixed martial arts back then. We called it shoot fighting, where you kind of grappled,
Yeah.
and the really only rules were like no eye pressure point, break on the ropes. I can't remember, like, there's one, no intentional groin kicks or something. But other than that, like, it was no rules. So you kind of learned, you learned how to defend yourself.
Oh, that's
Um,
beautiful. Was
yeah,
there
loved
striking
it.
with it as well?
Oh
That's what I'm
yeah,
thinking. Oh
absolutely,
yeah, I would imagine.
absolutely. In Muay Thai kickboxing, I mean, your goal is to hit with elbows and knees, and you're trying to get inside, get behind the neck, pull in for some knees, elbows. Uh, so we had to toughen up our shins because you're
Yeah.
kicking with shins and blocking with your
Yeah.
feet, stuff like
Do
that.
you still practice that now to this day, or are you kind of falling back on
No,
it?
no. I mean, at this point, like, I'm not doing. I lift weights and
He's
I
like, I already got all the skills. I'm good.
No, but
Come
I mean,
at me,
it's
bro.
something you keep up with. I certainly wouldn't be, I would. There's no reason on planet Earth for me to fight unless somebody was like attacking my family. So
Yeah, I get that.
if somebody ever was like, "Oh man, could you win in a fight?" I'd be like, "Listen, the whole world can." Yep, I have no ego around it. I don't care if everybody can, because at the end of the day, when it comes to fighting, it doesn't matter what kind of talking you do ahead of time. It only matters what happens when you actually,
When you
Yeah.
connect, yeah, absolutely,
Well,
absolutely.
27 years of anger management. That's my fighting, right?
That's my
I
skill right there.
de-escalate the situation when someone's coming at me. It's
Someone's got a gun to your head. What do you
I'm
do?
aware. I'm aware that my size plays a role when I go into places, but I very much don't make that the focus. I developed a theory called yield theory.
yeah,
I spent my life devoted toward it. It's evidence based, but the my one partner out in South Lake Tahoe, California, was a smaller female, and she did it incredibly effectively. So it didn't matter. It wasn't about like you're going to listen. It wasn't about
Yeah,
that. It was about saying I see you. Like, you're more than these actions that you're doing right now. You are more than your ego. And sometimes people need to be reminded of that. Look, you like practical advice. The stuff you guys are doing, phenomenal. So here's one of the most practical things anybody could ever learn.
hmm
No matter your emotions, no matter how intense they ever get, every single emotional experience will have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And emotions come and go, but actions can't be undone. Words can't be unsaid. Now, most people's egos will hear that and they'll go, I know that. I already know that. The problem with that is then when they're in the middle of the emotion, because they've tucked that away and filed that ass off as, I already know that, they won't practice it. But if you really know it, not here, but here, the next time someone cuts you off in traffic and it frustrates you, instead of allowing that to dictate your day, you're going to go, you know what? It's unfortunate. I would have rather it didn't happen, but it's not the end of the world. I can handle it. And so for me, yield theory isn't just about saying words in knowledge, it's about living it. It's living the wisdom that you know.
that's huge. Yeah, we were about to go into that as well. So we're going to backtrack a little bit. So you grew up very compassionate. You wanted to protect yourself. Did you know? Okay, I'm going to go to a undergrad in counseling or
No, my brother played professional baseball in the Oakland A's farm system
okay.
back when they Oakland A's won the were in the World Series with they had $4 million outfielders. They had Harold Baines, Jose
Yeah,
Canseco, Ricky Henderson, Dave Henderson.
they had a
But
time then, huh?
yeah, so he played, and it was my idol growing up. I wanted to play professional sports. I ended up never making it in. I never got drafted or anything. I wasn't a consistent enough hitter,
Mhm.
but so my undergrad, I really focused. Like, I was like, I want to be an athlete. Like, this is what I want to do.
Mhm.
And then when I didn't make it in that, I did like psychology, and I tried a bunch of different majors. Our daughter's in college right now. She studies physics with an
Okay.
emphasis in astrophysics.
Dang.
Um, oh, she's amazing. This kid's phenomenal. Literally, she is divinity. Like, when kids are young, people will be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I have a little angel." As soon as they mess up, they're like, "Oh, little devil." My wife and I, we never stop seeing her as this divine being, and
Oh, that's awesome.
she's like a light. She has different energy. I'm telling you. But she just did so as a sophomore in college, she just had a paid fellowship to study distant galaxies. She did original research. She
Wow.
got another week to finish up. But we're beyond proud of that because, like,
Yeah.
I mean, like literally a sophomore in
A
college, and she got
sophomore. Yeah, we're not
yeah,
talking about
Wow.
you hear about paid fellowships being after your graduate degrees and things like
yes,
that. Like that's huge,
yes.
man.
I was so lighting up with it, and she's like, I love her. My wife
Oh
and I've been
man.
married. This year will be 25 years, so our
Oh,
daughter's
that's
like the
awesome.
light.
You
Once
have
I start
one
talking
child,
about
right?
her, I forget what I was
Oh,
saying
that's
before.
all right, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
we get that. When you said about how your kid's an angel and the devil, I literally call my daughter lunatic. Her name is Luna, and when she turns on her Gemini feature, I'm like, "Oh, there's lunatic. She's out again." I mean, it's crazy. Like, she's just got a hot and cold to her. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
That's
you were talking about kind of how you got into it. You wanted to do sports, and then you were saying,
okay. Okay, thank you.
yeah,
Okay, so when I was in school, I tried a bunch of different majors, and my dad was an earth scientist, but he's a brilliant person. He was actually a English professor of English literature for like 15 years, and after that switched to earth science. So just a giant of an intellect.
Yeah.
Um, but so my dad told me one day I was like a hothead teenager, and I said, "Why do you like to study rocks?" And just as a jerk kind of question. And my dad said, "Well, if you're only going to live on one planet your whole life, don't you think you got to get to know that planet?" And I was like,
Some stoicism right there.
"Yeah, it is."
your dad
And
was
my
the
dad
OG
taught me
mic
so much.
dropper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, so when I was looking for something to study, I thought about his advice. I shifted a little bit and I thought, well, if I'm only ever going to live with me my whole life, shouldn't I get to know myself? So that's how I started in psychology. And like I said, when I didn't make it as a after in sports after college, I put the energy that I would have put into training into reading. I'd read 5 books a week for years, and just I wanted so badly to master my subject. I never wanted to sit there as a counselor and be like, oh, and as a professor, I used to tell my students this: which future client are you willing to sit in front of and be like, you know what, I didn't really study your issue. I can't help you. Like, what human being are you going to
Let
sacrifice
me
for that?
check with ChatGPT real quick to see what it says.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that didn't exist then
No,
for
that
sure.
Right.
what human being are you willing to sacrifice because you were lazy? You were too lazy to study.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. So I
Yeah.
so I was very passionate about I was always like when I was a professor, I was a tenured professor at the University of Nevada, but I used to say to
Awesome.
people, if you ask me what's going to be on the test, please just drop out of this major. Like this isn't a major where you're just trying to get your grade. Like
Yeah.
you're literally sitting down from people. And the truth is many counselors don't put the effort in. They really don't. They end up making it about themselves.
Sure.
They end up talking about their own biases and things like that. To be a really effective mental health specialist, whether you're a counselor, psychologist, you have to become a mirror. You have to be able to get rid of your own ego, or and not like you can get rid of your ego, but you have to be mindful of your ego so that you can set it aside and hold up a mirror so people can see themselves.
Sure.
Uh, if there's another kind of bit of wisdom comes out of yield theory, it's that people see your actions, not your intentions. We judge other people by their actions, but we judge ourselves by our intentions. And so, and I'll tell you where I first came up with that maybe later on, but it was at my,
Yeah. Of course, I want to jump right into like, hey man,
I
how
know,
did you
I
get
know.
to this? Wow.
I'm trying. I'm being
We're
patient.
trying to story tell. We're trying to lead. We're
so,
leading into it,
okay.
man. I want to jump right into it for sure, man.
All
Especially
right.
with the energy we got going on. But
All right.
I want to get back to you were in your undergrad. You're like, okay, I'm going to do psychology. At what point did you get to like I want to do this for a career? I want to help others fix their minds or give them tools to handle things in every day. Where was that shift for you?
Well, I did have an opportunity when I was an undergrad to intern for a guy named Dr. Kevin Elko, who is one of the best sports psychologists in the country, and he happened to be from my hometown. And people really don't come out of my hometown and do a lot, so
That's
he
What
huge.
was the
took
hometown
me
again?
on. Uh, well, so I don't say it as much anymore. I can tell you why later.
Yeah.
I'd rather not go into that for
No
safety
worries.
I can
reasons and
understand.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
I get
Um,
that. Yeah.
like, he's
yeah,
from your
so it's the
hometown.
type of yeah. So he's from my hometown, and where he was grateful to help me to sit in on his cases. I would sit in. I was given tests to the Pittsburgh Steelers, personality
Dang.
tests as an
Dude.
undergrad. You
At
know, it's
20,
so
at
cool.
20 years old, 21 years
Yeah,
old.
something
Oh,
like
how
that.
fun
So,
is
so
that,
it's
dude?
like,
You're a sports guy. You're like, this is my
oh, I
dream.
was,
I mean, back in the 80s and 90s, dude, the sports were nuts.
oh my
Like,
goodness, I
you talking
was
about the
so,
Steelers? Sheesh.
yeah. And we bleed black and gold around here, you know?
Yeah, we get that. Hey, man, I'm Philadelphians over here, man. We get it.
Yeah.
We bleed green. You guys bleed black and gold, so we get it.
Which is funny because later on we might come to, Ray Lewis, and he's like a brother to me now.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
we've
that's
done a
awesome.
lot of work together. But when we first met, I was like, Ray, I'm just letting you know I'm from Pittsburgh. It's like, I just, but all right. So so I was interning with this guy, and my intention was, he was also he is a professional speaker as well. So I would follow him around. I loved what he did. Um, so I'd watch him. I'd say, this is the type of career I'd like to have. And I literally, that's what I do today. The type of stuff I do, my own kind of thing.
That's
And
awesome.
so then when I got into grad school, I got an internship at a mental health facility. And I would see people coming in off the street with intensive mental health struggles. Um, and I had such a passion for that. I loved sports, but to me, sports psychology is easy. Like, really, it's about learning how to, you can learn sports psychology pretty quickly. At the end of the day, it's learning how to quiet your mind. So I loved the mental health aspect. And I knew once I started to do that, that's what I wanted to do. And that's why I was so passionate about studying and learning with it. So that's when I got into it. I actually didn't get into anger management specifically. I was a professor, and one of my students um, loved yield theory and said, I'd love for you to come up. In South Lake Tahoe, California, they had groups. Once you got convicted of a violent crime, you go to prison or jail. When you get out, you're mandated to 52 weeks of anger management. So you imagine how pissed off people are.
Yeah, dang.
So I came up and did some undercover stuff where I just come up and nobody knew who I was. I just looked like myself, and I'd sit in the back and act like I was in the group, and I just listened and learned. What I saw was right off the bat, the guys were like, to graduate the group, they had to write a letter of accountability. Well, on my first day in there, I'm sitting back with the guys. They just assumed I was one of them, and they had to write this letter. And there are three guys standing around going, the guy had to turn his letter in that day. 52 weeks of anger management. And here's what they were doing for real. Hey, erase this, say this. Oh, you just have to use these words. So they
Dang.
do that, changes the letter, gives it in. The teacher, on the other hand, he gets it and he goes, oh, yep, excellent. See, that's an accountable person. Right? I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Wow.
Oh my
And
goodness.
then I watched the teacher was real pejorative and condescending. He's like, some of you are psychopaths and this and that. And I thought, well, who would want to learn like that?
You're just setting
So,
it up right away for
yeah.
failure.
So
Yeah.
I saw a system like I wanted to help people make genuine changes because domestic violence permeates I mean, it doesn't matter your socioeconomic status, whatever.
Hmm.
Like, domestic violence is everywhere. And that's just one part of violence. So I wanted to make a real change. So first thing we did is I did a study where I did a group with yield theory, and we got people to come into that, and then we saw that it was making a profound change. So then I ended up taking over, and then ended up opening the person I ran it with, Lacey Weber. We ended up creating our own center for guys.
Wow.
So yeah, so I spent years doing that. As I was a professor, I was running the center up in South Lake Tahoe,
So you're
and
developing this yield theory throughout the time of being a professor.
yeah, and honestly, I had already had about 10,000 hours of clinical counseling by the time I got to Nevada. And I used yield theory my whole career. So what I did was refine it. Like, I was talking about it and writing about it as I became a professor. So let's say 2005, I was teaching at Duquesne University.
Mm.
I taught there for a year. Then I went out to University of Nevada. So I had already written about it. I wrote a textbook for counseling, Advanced Techniques for Counseling and Psychotherapy, that was published by Springer Publishing in 2008, where I wrote about yield theory then. So it's
Dang.
been there all along. Right
Yeah.
now, it's very comprehensive. It's very easily
Yeah.
accessible. I'm actually finishing a book for everybody on how to implement yield theory in your daily life.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
so,
We'll
yes.
definitely need to link up with that. So
Thank
it sounds very similar to or synergetic with our seven pillars of transformation. We're not reinventing anything. So you took through the coursework that you learned in your schooling, plus the things that you saw in the actual everyday life, and you created this yield theory. So you took all these different tools around, you packaged it up into what you have felt and have seen really large success with this.
Yeah, so I was in counseling. If you become a counselor or therapist or a
Mm-hmm.
psychologist, you will be driven by what's called a theory, a counseling theory. So Sigmund Freud, psychoanalytic theory, Carl Jung, individual psychology. You're going to learn, or analytical psychology, you're going to learn these different approaches.
Mm-hmm.
And each theorist ultimately took what they saw and then integrated whatever they, was their own piece of it. That's really how theories are built. And I did really the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I asked myself, like, what do I really do? I wanted to be skeptical, not just of other people, because it's easy to be skeptical of others, right? If you
Sure.
disagree with somebody, you'll rip them apart, right?
Right.
But everywhere I go, when I speak, I ask people, how many people have more to learn? And 100% of the hands go up. Everybody's like, oh, I got more to learn. So I always say, so why is it that the moment someone disagrees with you, do you seek to defend your position? Like, if you really believe you have more to learn, why aren't you going, well, maybe you're teach me. Maybe you're seeing something I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
So I did the same thing for myself. I said, what do I really do? I stand at a cell door in a prison and talk to somebody. I sit in a comfortable Zen setting and talk to somebody. So I realized I do three things. I listen, I validate, and I explore options. That's the core. Those are the three core actions of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you this funny story. So about 10 years ago, I was speaking at this big mental health convention. There's like 500 people there. This lady walks up to me at the break, and she was super condescending, which is always fun. And she looks at me. She's kind of looking down at me. She's like, "That's it? That's your big theory? Three things?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am. But if you think about it, all Bruce Lee ever did was move, block, and hit. He did pretty well for himself." So,
But hey, that's just the foundation, right? If we did our research right, which may be wrong, I think it morphs into more of the kind of seven fundamental components, right, of the yield
that's
theory.
it exactly. So that's it exactly. So yes, it does come down to three core actions, but it's how you do them that matters, and how we do them is driven by seven fundamental components. And the part that really makes yield theory unique is integrating non-attachment. So that's the seventh component, but it really comes from Eastern philosophy and Buddhism. Um, and the seven components, I mean, like, these are down to earth things. Like, acceptance, and I can get into it, but it's about accepting the reality of where people are. What are they ready, willing, and able to change?
Yep.
Authenticity. Like, it's easy for us to spot a fake. We can see that in a second.
Yep.
What's less obvious is when we're not being genuine. We think, oh, people can't tell, right? But they can tell. So if you're going to be authentic, like, I appreciate that you gentlemen said to me when you first, oh, you seem comfortable or whatever. Like, I practice what I teach. Like, I've been doing this. Like, I don't need to have stuff in front of me. I live this. I've been
Yep.
living it a long time. So authenticity is huge. Compassion is huge. A cornerstone to yield theory is, I imagine, what if I lived every day as another person? So not just walked a mile in their shoes, but like had their cognitive functioning, their affective range, their life experiences. How can I say I would have done anything differently from what they've done? So,
That's so interesting. I'm sorry to cut you off here.
no, go.
I train for a living, and it's always a weird question that people ask. As you imagine, I get very deep into people, and I get very personal as much as they want to explore. And I always ask, like, hey, what did you guys do this weekend? Well, I just did this. I'm like, no, no, no. What did you do? If I was right next to you, tell me about your life. Tell me about every hour on the moment. Well, I did some laundry. I went to the gym. I just kind of hung out on Sunday. I was like, that's a lot of hours that you're telling me that you didn't really do anything. I was like, give me more. I want to know, like, minute by minute, what did you do every day, and how do you feel about that? And then when they start talking about, like, well, shit, I didn't do anything. I need to. I don't know why I feel stressed out. I was like, I don't either. I can tell you about my last 3 days with three kids on the age of 10. I can tell you what that life looks like.
Well,
And when,
you're genuine. Like, you definitely come across as incredibly genuine, and I think that's that's authenticity. That
yeah,
that,
I mean,
that
it's
encompasses it.
And almost to the point, like my wife, she probably hates it too much. I'm like, I have no boundaries. And it's for me, I've worked with prisoners as well. I've worked with a lot of work release people, a lot of gang members and stuff. And it didn't matter who I worked with. It was, like you said, authenticity. Like,
Yeah.
dude, I don't care what that gang is that you belong to. That gang is not here with you right now. You're by yourself. So let's talk about who you are. And then they start breaking down those walls. They're like, wow, yeah, I am a different person, or I am a better person, or whatever. So authenticity is huge, and that compassion component comes with it. If you are authentic, the compassion I feel like is very natural. Am I wrong with that?
It is. Well,
Mm-hmm.
no, you're right on the money. And I'll tell you, so for me by authenticity, what I also mean is there's a difference between the ego and what I would call the essence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Ego is the center of our consciousness. So it's the center of everything we're aware of. And that sounds awesome. Like, wow, that's amazing. But if you look at like Freud's iceberg, it's a great model for saying everything above water is consciousness. So now the biggest part of the iceberg is below water.
That's right.
So if you look at the center of what the actual iceberg is, it's way down there. So now the ego that thought it had all this great stuff, you see, is really doesn't know a
It's
whole lot.
it's,
Yeah.
it's very tiny. Yeah.
So when people are authentic, they're living more closely to their core, to their essence, versus living in the ego. The ego needs to be right. The ego needs to have answers. We all have an ego. It's the center of our consciousness.
Yep.
But our goal is to strive to live from essence. So I'll tell you something that you do naturally that I would spot, like I spotted instantly. And that is when I teach people when they're training to be with the seven fundamental components and training in yield theory. To be authentic means to be humble. So humility is living from the essence, the essence, the true self, or self with a capital S, or essence as we call it, the middle of the iceberg. That part of us wants to grow. Your entire life, it wants to grow and learn. The ego, conversely, wants to prove itself right. So
Mm-hmm.
I usually draw a box around the ego because the ego's like, I'm in this box. Everything I know is correct. If you disagree with me, you're wrong. That type of stuff.
Sure. Sure.
But essence wants to go. So you have a very natural humility of wanting to learn more about people, the way you described. I want to learn this about this person. So having humility is one. The second part of it is curiosity. So I approach people with the humility of saying, I don't know what's going on in your life. With the curiosity, I want to know, so teach me. Teach me what you're willing to teach me. So that kind of goes into authenticity. I appreciate the way Jared said, like, you kind of, that was validating to see that even when I was even given the lighthearted part of the three core actions,
Yep.
he acknowledged right off the bat, but obviously it's a lot deeper,
Oh,
and
for
it
sure.
is. The truth is, yield theory is incredibly deep as analytical
This guy's
psychology.
like, I've done it for 27 years. I just got three things that you guys have to fix.
Did you teach that lady that? Did you humble her the rest of that afternoon?
I think that it was kind of cool because it's a real life story that I rattled that off about Bruce Lee. And she afterward was, I remember her saying something like, she said something kind, but the truth is there were 500 people there. Do I know if she really got it? I have no
Yeah, who knows?
idea.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but so, okay, so come back to compassion.
compassion,
Then we
yeah.
He's
have,
like, yeah, I'm married to her now.
yeah. Now my wife's like the most incredible Zen person. She's she's
He's like, I flipped her switch real quick.
All right.
Well, so then you get to conscious education, which means what I think is, whereas something like motivational interviewing, wonderful approach, great approach, it's more about listening, validating. But then where conscious education comes into play is this: I want to add to people's knowledge. I want to give you something. I want to give you some insight. Whether we talked about the emotions, have a beginning, middle, end. I'll give you a bunch of other stuff. People see your actions, not your intentions. But I want to add something, which is often where that, and to deliver that conscious education, we can go into the next fundamental assumption, which is creativity. Fundamental component, which is creativity. And that's where we do storytelling. Like, why not? It's a creative way to help people gain insight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the last two, just to let you know real quick, is the last two fundamental components. Mindfulness. Mindfulness is not just a buzzword. It is a practice, a daily practice, being aware of yourself, your surroundings, what you're eliciting in other people. So let's say you're talking to somebody and they shut down. Your ego will likely be like, well, that's their fault. That's them. In yield theory, if we're really living with humility, we're going, well, maybe I did something, whatever I did, and I can only control myself. So
Sure.
let me be mindful of what I might have done. I'm 6 feet 265. If my wife and I are standing up, this is what great anger management technique I teach men all the time. If you're having a disagreement with your girl, sit down, because it doesn't matter that that my wife and I've been together for, longer than she spent on this planet without me. Um, but the fact is, if I'm standing up, that's a position of intimidation. So why would I ever want to intimidate her? Like, I have no reason to want to ever intimidate. So sit down. Watch the difference that it makes.
Yep.
So anyway, and then so mindfulness, being aware of yourself and your surroundings. And then lastly is non-attachment. And non-attachment is this. Let's say I take all of my ideas and I set them in this book. So I put my ideas in this book, and let's say you disagree with my ideas. Well, if I'm attached to my ideas, I get defensive. Like, these are my ideas. Don't you know who I am? But then I say I had more to learn, so I take my ideas, I set them down over here, and if you disagree with my ideas, I see you're not disagreeing with the essence of who I am. You're just disagreeing with my ideas.
That thing over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not attached
So
to me.
learning to be not attached. Now, watch what this does if you're armed with this when you go to give feedback to somebody. So you want to give feedback to your kids. If you tell them something and they get defensive, what you want to do is teach them, look, this represents what you did. That's all we're talking about. I'm not talking about who you are. I'm talking about the actions that you did here. And so you actually get around people's fight or flight response, and then they hear what you're saying.
Do people feel
That's a
the
great
second you
tip.
said that, even the visual of this, and then putting over here, my first thought was vulnerability, right? And I wonder if you've seen that in your
align with you on that.
practice, where it's like, but then what? If it's not here and it's over here, then what do I have?
Yep.
If I'm not attached to that thing, good.
You're right on the money. No, but Jared, you're right. It's vulnerable. So that's why people don't. So watch this. In 2025, here's what we know. As equally as if a bear came charging in the room where we are right now, we're in different spots, but if a bear came, 3 different bears come charging in, our amygdala send a message to our adrenal glands to shoot adrenaline cortisol through our body. We're either going to fight the bear. BS, we're never going to fight the bear. We're either going to fight the bear, we're going to freeze.
I mean, maybe you would.
I'm not. Or we're going to flee. We're going to run. Fight, flight, or freeze. Now, as equally as a bear triggers that part of the brain, that part of the brain is also triggered when someone challenges your ego. So when they say, let me tell you why you're wrong about your politics.
Oh, it's so true.
Let me tell you why you're wrong. Boom, now.
You instantly get hot, like the adrenaline's going.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that adrenaline is to defend an ego. And here's the reality. Even if your ego gets killed, you're still alive and perfectly safe. But we defend it, and because we're attached to what we know, because we think if someone tells us we're wrong, we somehow think we're less than, or we're not, we're not. And so we get dejected, and so we do seek to defend our ego, and we don't need to, but it takes practice to learn non-attachment. People can rattle it off and use quotes, but can you really live it? Can you really understand that if someone disagrees with your perspective, they're not disagreeing with the essence of who you are? That's why I say with yield theory, it takes training. It's a way of life. I spent my whole life really working hard to make complex subjects easy for people. Most people will hear this stuff and they'll be, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, I do it all the time. But you really couldn't just articulate it on your own. But once you really break it down for somebody, now they can own it. And that's wonderful.
They can see where they actually practice it.
100%. 100%.
Yep.
The problem is the ego seeks to say what it already knows. And it's not about knowing it. It's about, can you live it? Can you literally set your stuff aside and have a rational conversation? If you disagree, here's why I can talk about really sensitive subjects with anybody. Because I have no desire to have you converted to what I believe. I have no desire. First of all, I don't know if what I believe is absolutely true. So I believe it, but that doesn't mean I'm not open to, if you tell me something different, and I'll change my mind. So I have no desire to convince you of anything I believe. And B, there's nothing you can do to convince me of what you believe unless it resonates with me. In which case,
Dude,
I'm happy to
you gotta
change.
preach, man, because I literally live my day telling people, probably at least 5 times a day, because I train a lot of people. I am Switzerland in every manner of my life. Like it's not intentional. It's just who I am. Like
Yeah,
you said it, you took the words right out of my mouth. Where you cannot offend me. You will offend me because unless it resonates with me, or unless I disagree with it, which my point of views are pretty minimum. I'm pretty open. Like, hey, just tell me something if it works. Years ago, I had a quick story. I had this trainee. Basically, he not basically he called me a racist and a bigot because I asked him about the Black Lives Movement. All it was a simple statement that said, "Hey, can you tell me about it? Because I understand you're going to the movement. Can you explain what it means?" No, man, you're a racist and a bigot. I was like, I don't know what I said. I literally said that one question to him, and he went off. So you're talking about this ego, right? So for him, it immediately triggered, and for me, I'm just like, all right, well, I guess you don't want to share what you want to share. I guess we'll keep it moving then. So
yeah,
it didn't resonate with Nate with me because it's not true, right? If you always
sure.
hear those things, like there's always some truth, and that's why people get triggered because there's truth in that triggering response, right?
Right. So I just did this. I made up this technique years ago. I just did it with an athlete yesterday. I said, "Listen, if I call you a pink elephant, you're gonna get upset." He's like, "No." I was like, "Why not?" Because it's ridiculous, right? It's absurd. You're not a pink elephant. You're also not anything else that you're not. So no
Right.
matter what somebody calls you, you're not a pink elephant. Um, and
That's
so that's what
awesome
happened with
synergy
that
right
guy.
there.
That guy called you something. He might as well called you a pink elephant. If it's not true,
Absolutely.
it's not true. Who cares? What? Why get defensive about it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So run it through the pink elephant filter.
Yeah,
Dude. Yeah.
exactly.
It's honestly yeah, run it through the pink elephant
You know,
filter.
I,
Yeah.
Yes.
so I was curious about you said that somebody won't convince you of their beliefs unless it resonates with you. My question is though, and I ask this because I definitely feel this way. Like I can't say that when I'm talking to somebody about my beliefs, I don't care if they don't take to it because I do care. I would actually love if they did because one, it validates me and my beliefs, right? It validates, oh hey, my beliefs must be right and my thoughts must be right. And maybe two, it's hey, because I believe it's right, this person now agrees, so now I've kind of added value to the world in some way by expanding this belief system. So how do you detach from actually not caring in when you're speaking with that person?
So how many people are on the planet right now? What is it, like eight,
Yeah, it's like 8 billion.
7 billion? Eight,
8 billion. Yeah,
eight
something like
It's like
billion,
that.
8
eight
mil,
billion.
yeah.
So Jared, if 3,999,999 people agreed with you, you still wouldn't have the majority of the world agreeing with
That's
you.
right.
Yep.
So what your ego does is your ego says, well, if I'm in this conversation and I can get Sally to agree with me, then I must be right because Sally's agreeing. And I go, you got about 7,999,000 more people to convince. Um, and our ego likes to seek to be like, well, everyone I talk to, who'd you talk to? 30 people? Maybe not 30 people. Like, really? So just because somebody agrees with it, like that doesn't make it true. For
Yeah.
me, truth is truth. And no number of people makes it right or wrong. It's just truth. I mean, the majority of the world thought the world was flat for how long? Thought that the earth was the center of the solar
And
system
they
for
still
how
do,
long?
man, right? They still do. There's some people
Sure.
still out there. Yeah. Yeah.
So here, what happens is this: when you get into all these different types of belief systems, first of all, it is very healthy to challenge the status quo or challenge what we're taught. Absolutely. The problem is people will then link if you don't challenge everything, then then that's why some of the ideas stick around because they're like, oh, so you're just believing everything you're told, just like that person said to you, oh,
Hmm.
if you ask a question, you must be this.
Yeah, you must be that. Like, yeah, that's.
Come on, that's their own ego needing
Oh,
everything to fit into the way they see the world.
Oh
So,
yeah.
Jared, I say, listen, I care about people finding peace. I definitely care about people finding peace. That's what my life is devoted to.
Mm.
But be mindful when I say peace, I'm not talking about everybody thinks, feels, believes, and behaves the way I think,
Yeah.
or everybody agrees with them. When I say peace, I teach peace through this story. There was a king, and he wanted someone to paint him peace. He said, somebody's got to paint this. Picture says more than words. So he got submissions from all over the kingdom, and he had nature scenes, he had angels and saints and flowers and calm images. And amongst all of these images, there was one of a ship at sea in the storm, and there's chaos and barrels flying off the boat. And it seemed like this whole thing was chaos. Well, the people collecting the paintings for the king were like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, sir, that shouldn't be in there." And he says, "No, no, no, let me see it." And he pulls up this picture and he looks, and sitting perched on the bow of the ship is this bird, and he looks in this bird's eyes and he sees a sense of stillness, a sense of calm, inner control. Boom, he declares that painting the winner. That's peace. That's my
Nice.
definition of peace. When you can control your inner world regardless of what's going on around you.
Hell yeah, man. I
Yeah.
swear, you're like my inner soul right here speaking out. I mean, that's what it is, dude. It's just like you're not going to agree with everyone's opinions, and nor should anybody. Have your own opinions. Just the peace part is just they're my opinions, and that's all that matters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's the
I
same.
That's
don't
it.
even listen. I grow all the time. I might think of something and think
Yeah.
of something later down the road. Like that's cool. Like
Well, that's the
I'm not
thing.
Yeah.
You're
an
not saying
opinion.
just have your opinion and only have that. I mean, obviously, one of the principles is literally be open to education, right? It's
Yep.
this idea of what is it, conscious education, and so
Yeah,
you're open to that. If somebody says something like you just said, if it resonates with you, then great. You kind of add that
Yeah.
in and
Yeah.
shape your belief system. Yeah, I mean that's the whole point. You don't know. You knew things when you were a kid. Your mind has evolved. You learn different things, and we should be open to that and not be afraid to. The
So how do all these
yeah.
people, this political war? I mean, I'm sure maybe some personal people in your life ask you it. You probably have all these answers that they try to look for. Like, what's up with this fighting, man? Like this politics and this wars and stuff like that. So how do we get that peace? How do we get people to align and to want to practice this yield theory, right?
Well, I listen. I was going through a prison years ago, and I was starting this movement. And if you're going to go into during blockout time, which is the only time in a maximum security prison where somebody actually can turn on the TV in the community area,
Hmm.
if you're going to turn off the TVs, you better say something interesting. So I was going to this prison, and I said I want to start a movement here, and it was on three things. It was on inner peace, education, and legacy. So what I said to the guys was this: if you had a cellie come in and he said, I got a 10-year bid. When I'm done, I'm going to play in the NBA. Your first question is going to be like, cool, when are you going to practice basketball? And if he said to you, man, I'm not touching a basketball till I get out of here, you'd be like, come on, you're not playing in the NBA. No chance. Why? Because we master what we practice.
Yep.
All right. So if you've ever sat with someone in hospice, in people's final moments, you know that people aren't sitting there going, man, I wish I got over on so and so. In people's final moments, all they want is peace. And then when you think about Henry Wadsworth Longfellow in his poem, A Psalm of Life, our hearts, though stout and brave, still like muffled drums are beating funeral marches to the grave. We're all going to have that final moment.
Hmm.
So we master what we practice. We're all going to have that final moment where we want peace. And if we wait till that final moment to practice it, it's going to be tougher to find it. So that means why not practice peace now? And again, think about what I meant by peace. Not everybody agreeing with you, but being able to be okay. So, what a beautiful opportunity to practice peace when someone disagrees with your politics. Um, I have worked with people in politics. I have worked with really high up officials on both sides. And people are not what people think. Like it's silly to watch people get so angry and rally for somebody who behind closed doors is laughing at them going, I can't believe these people follow this. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it would be disheartening for a lot of people to see. And I think this whole idea of being angry with your family and your loved ones because they see a different side of the box from you.
Right.
Like the box is a central theme in yield theory. The idea behind the box is like you can only ever see one to two sides of a box in a given moment, and your ego is going to be like, well, I've been all around the box, but the box represents a human psyche. So unless you're omniscient, you don't know all sides of the box.
Right.
And in any given moment, you're only seeing one to two sides of the box. So let's say the box. Let's take that metaphor a little further, and I say in yield theory, imagine each box side of the box had a screen that showed random images. So even if your ego said, "Well, I've been around that box," you don't know what that person's seeing because the images are random.
Hmm.
Now, if you really buy into this metaphor, it leads to what you practice, what I'm already listening to you practice, which is the humility of saying, I don't know what's on your side of the box,
Yep.
and the curiosity to say, teach me what you're seeing on your side.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so now if you really practice this, let's come back to why this would be helpful for you. Because your family member who sees a different political side from you, what they see might very well be true. It just doesn't tell the whole story. Maybe what they see is a part, and it's meaningful to them, right? If you would have only had partial of the experiences I've had talking to people who let you down that might have been on your political side, you might say, see, that's it. That's this whole side. Until you go to the other side. And then you see that experience let you down. And you go,
Back and forth.
yeah, oh, that's what me down. So instead of being attached, going, listen, you see a little bit. We only ever have partial information. And our egos that believe that we have full information. And it's just not reality.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's saying
It's, I mean, it's such a simple concept, right? If you take a step back, like what we're talking about is a simple concept here, which is basically get out of your own mind, see the perception of somebody else. I read a book years ago called The Art of Happiness. Have you ever heard of that one?
Mm-hmm. By,
That shifted my brain. It was probably
yeah,
maybe about 10 years ago. Then I reread it again about 5 years ago. And I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, it's a simple concept. I know I'm oversimplifying your 27 years, which I don't mean to, but
No,
it's
it is simple.
it is.
I'm with you. It's simple. The problem is, again, can you live it?
Right.
So, um, the reason why, the way I came up with the box, our daughter was 5 years old. She came home from school. They had a pamphlet on religion, and the pamphlet said, "This is the truth." It was a different religious belief from our own. So my daughter came up to me. She said, "Daddy, I don't understand. It says this is the truth." So I took her up to her playroom. I had her lie down on her stomach. Now imagine a 5-year-old, so a little kid.
Yep.
I had her lie down on her stomach, close her eyes, and I put a big box in front of her. I had her keep her eyes closed, and I put different objects around the box. So then, when I told her to open her eyes, she was only close to one side. So I had her open her eyes and said, "Okay, what do you see?" It was a My Little Pony character. Okay, My Little Pony. Okay, cool. Is it true there's a My Little Pony there? Yes, that's truth. Okay, cool. Is it true there's a My Little Pony on every side of the box? At 5 years old, only seeing one side of the box. She said yes. So I scooted her over so she could see two sides of the box. On the second side, I had a little book set up. She said, "Oh, it's a book." I said, "That's okay. Is it still true that there's a pony on the other side?" "Yes, that's still true, right?" "Okay." So now I said to her, "Now I want to ask you, do you think there's a pony and a book on the other two sides of the book, on the box?" At 5 years old, she was insightful enough to say, "Now, Daddy, I don't know." I gave her a high five. I
Hell yeah.
quoted the opening lines of the Tao Te Ching to her. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. Like there's so much more. And what I taught her that day was, and we use in our family, and then I ended up making it a cornerstone of yield theory, so I'm teaching it to the world. But you only ever see one to two sides of a box. And it's true. Like those people who wrote that pamphlet, I said to her, what they saw might very well be true, but that doesn't necessarily mean it tells the story of the entire box. And so
it's just
when
their side.
somebody says this is true, cool, that's true, but that's not, that's part of, if you know the old story with the four blind men and the elephant,
Mm-hmm.
and they all think it's a different part.
Yep.
Each one of them has a part of the truth.
Yeah.
It's just not the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just always believe there's
Huge.
more to learn.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah, that's
No wonder why she's been so successful in her life, man. Look what you did to her. Look at
She's
how you brought
something.
her up, man. Plus, obviously, the own instinctual stuff that she has. But that's awesome. That's awesome to hear.
She's a gift to the world. We love
so
her.
is
Can't wait.
side question there with the religion. Do you guys is it Buddhism then you're practicing?
Yeah, I would say that we are practicing Zen Buddhists. We brought our daughter up in Buddhism. Like I laugh, it sounds impressive to quote the opening lines of the Tao Te Ching. I made her memorize a chapter of that throughout all of junior high, so she could rattle off like 30 chapters of that.
Oh wow.
like
Dang.
that. So she's
Did you have a religion
not
growing up? Were you like
A
Christian? Or?
Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I was raised
Okay.
Catholic. And unlike a lot of people who go, Carl Jung called it enantiodromia, when we go from one extreme to the other.
Hmm.
Um, Even though it wasn't for me, I don't think it's terrible or wrong or bad. It's not for me. Like I love it. I honor it. I love when people buy into it. That's wonderful. But that just doesn't resonate with me.
Hmm.
And so I don't, again, with any religion, whatever works for you, that's wonderful. I don't know that I have the answers,
Yeah.
Right.
but I know it works, for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Interesting. Um,
Definitely validates my point of view on it. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I love about the Buddhism was I would have her quote the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, and through all of junior or grade school, we would pick one of the Eightfold Path, and then she would practice it that day. And then at the end of the day, when I would pick her up, I would say, "How did you do with that?" So if it was right speech, give me an example how you did right speech today. If it was right effort, give me an example how you did right effort. And we just made it something real and tangible. It wasn't for us, and she meditated every day 10 years, till she went off to college. Like we made that a integral part of our everyday. So it wasn't like this is a once a week thing or, every once. It was every day. And it helped make a focus. First of all, meditation is super helpful for everyone,
yeah.
whether you
Absolutely.
have spiritual beliefs or not. It's
Yep.
super helpful for people.
So you guys turned, similar to what Catholics or any kind of religious faith, you guys use that as your prayer time. It seems
Yes,
like, right? It
absolutely.
was
Yes,
equivalent
that's
to
your
your prayer
spiritual
time.
time.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, so
Yep.
my new book, I wrote a new book called Strong Mind, Strong Man.
Right.
Yeah, let's go over
Yeah.
that, man. I know you have a couple books. I mean, more
12.
than a
That was
couple.
my 12th. That was my
I
12th.
was gonna say
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got a whole line of these books, man.
Yeah, that was my 12th. But in that book I talk about how we're body, mind, and spirit beings, and we got to take care of all three. So you got to take care of your body, you got to take care of your mind, you got to take care of your spirit. However you do that is up to you, but you've got to take care of all three. And you're going to find an emptiness if you don't take care of all three. I obviously integrate a lot of stoicism throughout that book for sure. Um,
Is that book out yet, or are you
it
still working
is,
on it?
yes, it is.
Okay.
It's newly out, so I'd love for people to get it. I really
Heck yeah.
wrote it for young men, but anybody that's any man who's trying to get better and learn about himself. I think you gentlemen, like, boom, that I would
Oh
love
yeah,
for you guys to read it because
Yeah.
I think you'll be like, oh, this
I'm
vibes
on it.
what
You know what? I'm gonna look it up right now.
you're
Yeah.
Not typically what we do, but I'm gonna do it right
doing.
now. I know I put a list. I already have your the last one. What the heck was it?
Walking Through Anger.
Walking
Walking
through
Through
Walking
anger.
through
Anger is a
anger.
legacy book for me because I talk about yield theory and I detail yield theory in it. My wife really wanted me to not name it anger because it's so much more than anger. It's how to handle any difficult emotions, and how to talk to people. So essentially, Walking Through Anger shows you how yield theory, you can use it for anything, including yourself, first and foremost, because people put lip service to you're the only. Oh, I'm the only person I can control. Cool. That means in every situation, you don't go, well, you should do this, you should do that. It comes back to what can you do in every given situation.
Your going back on your book. It should be on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Strong
strong
mind,
mind,
strong
strong
man.
man's on the but yeah.
Yeah, it's on there.
Oh, there it is. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Purchase, my dude.
Oh, thank you.
Heck
Thank
yeah,
you very
man.
much.
So
I see Jared and we looked at what do you call it? Looks like you got paperback.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we have paperback for that. Um,
Sweet Jared. Jared's got
don't even. Don't even.
I always like messing with them because I mean I like hardbacks mostly, but Jared he's got a thing about soft covers and I just want to go over that right now because I like teasing him about it.
I love hardback books. They're great. I love them all. They're awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything you can
Exactly.
do to read.
So going back to one of the last fundamentals, you said non-attachment, probably perhaps one of the most important features of yield theory. You're saying non-attachment is something that you have to practice a good amount. Do you have some key kind of tools or frameworks that you teach people to really practice non-attachment?
Yes. First of all, I kind of really liked how you liked how I did that little thing with the book. The way
Oh
you
yeah, yeah, the
responded to it, that
visualization of it.
felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of that's a good visual for it. like let's say you're talking to somebody and you're training somebody and they say they know that they're not their jewelry. So if they lose their necklace, they're not less of a person. They might be sad. Maybe they really liked it. But if they lose their jewelry, they're not less of a person. If they lose a relationship, they might be really sad, but they're not less of a person. In the same way, if they find out that something they believed is not true, they're not less of a person. So the more attached we are to what we believe, the more hurt we are if someone disagrees with it. So to practice non-attachment, it begins with recognizing you are not your thoughts. As equally as you're not your jewelry, your object, your things, you're also not your thoughts. And I think that's a really important practice to recognize.
That's a I'm not going to say counter, but that's a opposite of what you might hear in the world where it says you are what your thoughts are, right?
Okay,
You,
okay. So let me help explain that because I
mhm,
appreciate you saying that.
mhm.
You are what you think in the
Yep.
fact that your thoughts create your reality.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Your thoughts create your reality for sure. Non-attachment doesn't say you can't have thoughts or you can't really love your thoughts. It's saying you are not those thoughts. So let's take. There's a line in the Tao Te Ching that says a good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving.
Mm.
It's not saying that he doesn't have plans. It's saying he doesn't have fixed plans. He's not saying he doesn't want to go somewhere. He's saying he's ready to adjust on the spot and
That's
see
great
what life
symbolism right
brings.
there. Yeah.
So your thoughts do create your world, but that doesn't mean you are those thoughts.
Yep. I get that.
Hmm.
But I'm thinking the listeners out there are like, what do you mean? I've been living this way for 12 years or 10 years. I've been always told that my thoughts, I am what I think. So it's good that
Well,
you cleared that up because I mean I understood it. I completely understood what you were talking about.
well, it's interesting because
Jared, what do you think?
yeah, I mean, I agree with it. It is interesting because as you think, I mean, think of the whole book, right? As a man thinketh, right? As a man thinketh, powerful book. Because your thoughts create your reality because your thoughts lead to actions. And that's why it's very important we watch our thoughts, right? Watch your desires, what you desire, what you wish for will come to pass because it's very powerful. It does. That is
Yes.
a true principle. And so I think it's interesting. Maybe it's like your thoughts are, and I can understand where it comes from, but it goes deeper, right? Your thoughts are like who you are. Well, again, it's not just that. There's multiple steps in between that. It's their thoughts lead to
Hmm.
actions. The actions kind of make your experience. But at the end of the day, it's like that thing goes back to like, well, who am I? Right? It's I am what then? If I don't have my thoughts, it's like, well, then what? I'm this being
That's a
that's
great way to say that. That's a
Hell yeah.
great way to say that.
Yep.
Yeah, they come back to I am. Like I am. It's who you are. So I think people can get caught up in semantics to the point where it will be the ego trying to prove itself right. Well, what I'm believing is correct.
Yep.
And that's the part where I would invite people to look in for that attachment. So when I say ego, if somebody's really stuck in their ego, they'll get defensive about that. I have an ego. We all have an ego. Ego is literally the center of our consciousness.
Yeah. Like that person would say, "What do you mean?" Like I've been following all these like psychologists and these other people saying like I have to think if I want to be successful, I have to think and vision
well,
that
it's
I'm
Think and Grow
successful.
Rich principles. I'm sure you've read that book, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
Absolutely.
both and. It's not either or.
Yeah.
Right. It's both
Either
and
or says,
exactly.
well, I'm either
Yep.
I am what I think or I'm
They're
not.
not
It's all
mutually
BS.
exclusive,
No,
right?
it's a
They're
both and.
It's both. It's definitely both.
n-
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah. They can exist at the same time. Is
Yep.
effectively what we're saying,
Yeah.
right? Like as a man thinketh,
Yes.
Think and Grow Rich. Like these things are very real, and there's something intangible about our thoughts that vibrate in the ether, right? That's the whole idea of like Think and Grow Rich. It does. It's a real thing. Like it really happened,
Yes.
and you bring those things to pass. However, you can't just get so dang attached to it to where it's like, oh, that's me. And if somebody hits that, they're kind of like it's like you have these uh, yeah, you talked about it. I swear, it's like somebody. I swear it was you. Like it's like imagine what you like. You're wearing a suit and it got a bunch of prickles, like all over the place, and it's like somebody touches one of those,
Hmm.
like they have offended you, It's the same idea. It's
Yes.
like just remove the dang suit, right?
Yeah.
You can still have these things,
Yeah.
Yes.
so you don't have pricklies for people to touch and like agitate you. That is
Yes.
interesting. I actually
So
haven't thought
so
of that.
how did people do that, right? Because I mean, I know it's such a simple thing. So, and
Say
I'm
it.
assuming you might have even said it, but non-attachment seems to be, in my mind, the biggest of all fundamental things to the yield theory.
It
Right?
is.
It starts
So
with
here,
that, right? If you can't unattach things, then none of the other stuff's going to exist, or very hard
yes,
to exist, right?
specifically being non-attached to ego.
Yeah.
So ego needs to be right, and ego, and to be non-attached to that ego. So that's where I want to be clear that your thoughts impact your life in a profound way.
Sure.
Like, think about people who define themselves as having bad luck. I have bad luck.
Yeah, you keep saying that
You have
crap, you're gonna
whatever kind of
attract
luck
it.
you see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So of course you're gonna vibe at that level. Your thoughts are incredibly powerful. Your thoughts are incredibly influential. All I'm adding to that, that's yes and both and. You're not just your thoughts. So if your thoughts change or you learn something new, it doesn't make you less of a human being. So that's the
Right.
piece. The non-attachment isn't saying not to have thoughts and that your thoughts don't impact you. But I'll give you an example. Cognitive behavioral therapy, the cornerstone is that your thoughts determine your emotions. So, and Epictetus said, men are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them. So that's a cornerstone to CBT.
Mhm.
I taught theories. So to be technical, CBT is saying your thoughts determine your emotions. Now, when I say what I'm about to say, people are going to go, well, yeah, that makes sense and it should be that way. But that's why you have different theorists. That's why I deviate from CBT a little bit. I was trained in it. I love it. I draw on it. You read my stuff and you're going to go, that's a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy. Absolutely. But
Mhm.
here's the difference. Instead of saying your thoughts determine your emotions, in yield theory, we say your thoughts impact your emotions. Now, what the difference is means it's not always the case. Sometimes your mind just wants to match your body.
Mhm.
So, watch this. How many times have you been hungry and felt agitated, irritable, and then got in an argument with your loved one? Because what happens is, when you're hungry, that's the
Switch.
hypothalamus. He's pointing at you.
I'm
So you,
pointing at Jerry because man, he's so high in maintenance with food.
well, so when you're hungry, you're in your hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is in the center of your limbic system. Your limbic system is your emotional center. So when you're hungry, you feel agitated or irritable. Now, when your mind wants to match your body, here's what I mean. You start to look around for outside reasons for why you feel the way you do. Well, it must be my wife not doing this. It must be, I must be, or the best way I explain it is this. Let's imagine we all down 3 energy drinks really quickly. Pow, pow, pow. Our body's going to start shaking. We're going to mimic anxiety. So now, high functioning people will probably create a story like, oh, I forgot to pay that bill. I never answered that email. This thing was due. Like, you're going to create a story that makes sense out of why you feel the way you do.
Mm.
But with mindfulness, in yield theory, we say step back and go, I just drank 3 energy drinks. I got a bunch of excess caffeine in my body, and my body's mimicking anxiety. Now, the difference seems subtle, but it's profound. So, again, instead of saying, no, your thoughts determine your emotions, I say your thoughts impact them. But sometimes your mind just wants to match your body. So, we leave a lot more room for balance. Instead of it being either or, it is both and. So, systems, the linear versus circular causality sounds fancy, but here's what it is. Do you guys familiar with that linear versus circular causality?
No.
Minimum with it,
Yeah.
but I mean, I get the superficial terminology of what you're saying. I can get behind of what you're about to get into.
So let's say for listeners who hear that word, it sounds fancy. Linear versus circular causality. Linear causality is like, just think of a line. A plus B equals C. So the example I would use to teach this in systems is, let's say that you kick a dog. First of all, I love dogs, so no dogs will be kicked in the making of this metaphor. This is all hypothetical. But let's say somebody kicks a dog. Now, what's the dog going to do? what's going to happen when somebody kicks a dog? What do you think? What could happen if somebody kicks a dog?
And then whimper away a little
Whimper
bit.
away or bite him, depending on what kind of dog it is. Yeah.
Yep, could be
Yeah.
whimper, could bite, a
Yeah.
bunch of things could happen.
Yeah.
So what happens is you kick the dog, and then somebody says, well, it's obvious that this person went up to this dog and did it. But if you break it down, it's possible that that dog bit that person's child the day before, and the dog made a move like that. The person saw a move that triggered that, and that. So
That's
you don't
circular.
know, was it the dog? It's circular.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know which one it is. So anytime you have living beings, so if I kick a rock, you can determine with physics. Well, I can't, but my daughter could. But how much do you kick it with? What's the force? How far? How much the rock weigh? How far will it go? That's linear. But circular causality says when you have two living beings interacting, you don't know which causes which. Was it the chicken or the egg?
Yep.
And so circular causality is the root of systems theory. When you come in as a relationship therapist, you're not saying, so maybe the wife says, well, he shut down in silent treatment. He gives me silent treatment. But from his perspective, he might be like, well, anytime I say something, you jump on me about this. So they each have a perspective. Back to the box, they each got a perspective.
Yep.
Circular causality says we're always playing a role. And for my part, what I say is it's about self-discipline. It's about radical responsibility. I can only be accountable for myself. And what role do I play within this circular causality in this context? So yield theory is it uses all of that. That's why it's not just an either or that is the basis of something like CBT is either or. Again, I love it. I was trained in it. I use it. It's phenomenal. Your thoughts absolutely impact your feelings. The more extreme words you use, the more extreme emotions you have.
Yeah.
Makes
The more
sense.
balanced words you use, the more balanced you have.
Yeah.
I mean that's honestly my biggest takeaway from that is this the idea of and right is like at the same time and like they can exist. Your thoughts absolutely impact your reality and what you do and who you become. But we can detach ourselves from that. Our ego needs to be detached from that. So they exist. They can exist at the same time. Yeah.
Yes.
It's interesting.
Huge. That's it.
Yeah. That kind
Yes.
of it.
She's like everything. 27 years, man, just wrapped up right there. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, right. Well, that's right now. But it's different than what I'm about to say, but it's in the same concept, which is your maybe technique. Maybe you want to explain that, the idea of the maybe technique. I only say it's different than is because it's not binary, right? So it's not just like it's
Yes.
this or that, just like we talked about right there. Like, oh, you remove your...
Your
Good.
your sound echoed, and I couldn't hear if you said my main technique
Oh,
or my
maybe.
maybe.
Your maybe technique, yeah.
Maybe. Okay, great. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Okay, maybe technique.
Yeah, your maybe
Also,
technique.
this is cool. So maybe technique. So
I love
sometimes
using this
people,
way.
sometimes people say, well, why are you a level 5 anger management specialist? There's only 4 of us on the planet. The other 3 are like 30 years older than me. So
That's awesome,
what
man.
did
Congratulations
I
on that. That's huge, right? I mean,
Thank
that's-
you.
that was a small little plug that you put in there, man. That's a big deal. Like,
Well, so I said, what did you? Well, I've contributed some stuff to anger management, and one of the things is that maybe technique, and the maybe technique is this. It's based in neuroscience. I've noticed this. So essentially, anger, when the more certain we are about something, the more somebody cuts you off. I'm certain he did it on purpose. I'm certain he was a jerk. You
that
know.
asshole. What the heck? He didn't see
Yeah.
me here. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I teach people to do is this. You can still have the same thoughts that you're going to have whenever that happens. All I ask is that you infuse the word maybe. Maybe he cut me off because he's a jerk. Maybe he's an asshole. Maybe he did this on purpose. Maybe he's on the way to see his wife at the hospital. You know what I mean? In the moment. So here's what happens. The limbic system, your emotional center, when the more Robert Burton, he has a book called On Being Certain, great book, leading neuroscientist in the world. He noticed 35 years of brain scans, that when people are certain about something, the part of the brain that lights up is your limbic system, your emotional center. So people think, let's think something like politics. I'm being logical and I'm certain I'm right. You're actually emotional. You're being emotional in the moment. That's why you're so attached. That's why
Yeah.
your heartbeat's going fast. That's why you want to be on the edge of your seat. When you're certain, you're emotional. But when you use the word maybe, you're now having to consider alternative options, which means you're activating the frontal cortex, the higher level thinking center. So the maybe technique is it works because what you're saying is maybe I'm 100% right about whatever I'm thinking, but maybe I'm not. Maybe there's a chance I'm wrong. And could you imagine what that does to you? Because now you can think it through. Like I've sat with people who their entire lives are in an 8 by 10 cell because they didn't think through their future self. No, I'm certain, and I had to react. And the rest of your life, you're going to sit behind bars because you had to do it. So that technique is
I want
cool.
to
Yeah,
touch on that for a second. So how these people, Jared and I, we definitely have some attachment when it comes to this prison system. How do these people that are on death row or people that are in life in prison, how do you get through to them with this technique? They've already made that choice. So they're angry
well,
right
so
now. They're angry with themselves. They can't go anywhere because they're in prison for their whole life.
yeah, I mean, so a couple things with in Pennsylvania, life means life. So
Hmm.
it's a pretty much a colloquial term that guys use on the inside too to say lifers.
Yeah.
So when I say lifers, these are people who have life in prison. A lot of lifers are some of the most mature, rational, and best leaders in the prison system because they've resigned themselves to that's it. This is my life. If this is where I'm going to live. I actually did a podcast. Ray Lewis and I we did a podcast called Tackling Life. We did 100 episodes, and
Dang.
one of our episodes was live in a prison at Graterford, which is now Phoenix, but Graterford prison at the time. And these guys were lifers, and we sat down and had these conversations, and really intelligent, thoughtful men. And one of the things they said to us was, you reach a point where you realize if this is my life, then I'm not going to have these knuckleheads running around doing all this nonsense. So they police themselves. And people will ask me, why do I spend time? Like when I take my movement that I'm working on, like that inner peace, they're called the New Day movement. Why would I take it to people who are lifers or on death row? Because they still carry a lot of energy in the prison.
Sure.
And still impact. If a young guy's idolizing some of these old heads,
Hmm.
and the old heads are still talking about nonsense, they're going to be more convinced to do that. But if they can help show them,
Sure.
look, this is the path. This is what happens. Most of the times when I'm talking to guys in prison, I'm like, listen, I'm not talking about this for me. Like if you listen or don't listen, it has nothing to do with me.
Right.
I'm not even talking about it for the people at the prison. I'm talking about it on behalf of your future self
Sure.
because you have to live with you. I was in Georgia one time, and I was at this prison. It was like the most violent prison in Georgia at the time,
Hmm.
and there was two guys went off camera. One guy came out stabbed. So the guy who didn't come out stabbed, he's like, man, they set me up. I didn't do anything. Well, you guys both went off camera, and one guy must have just stabbed himself a bunch. A guy you had
He fell
conflict.
onto the knife.
Yeah. So hey, listen, maybe that
Maybe
happened.
that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. But again, I live that, so I'm not saying that it's not. It's not likely, but I'm not saying it's not possible. So when I talk to him, I don't have to come at him and convince him he's wrong. Instead, what I say is, look, He was furious. He was like, I'm gonna come out. I'm gonna get these COs when it's that first chance I get. And what I said to him was, like, how old are you? I think he was 22 at the time. And I said, listen, my man, I'm in this prison. You might never see me again. I might just be here once. I'm not asking you to do anything, not do anything for me. I'm not even going to ask you on behalf of the CEOs, although I really wish you wouldn't do something to them.
Right.
But what I'm going to ask you is on behalf of yourself. Because here's what's going to happen. Your future self, if you come out and assault one of the CEOs, the rest of your time in prison is going to be very difficult. And you're not going to be able to blame it on someone else because you're the one that's going to choose. CEOs are very hardworking people. They are really honorable people who have an incredibly difficult job. Um, the jobs of CEOs it's not easy.
Mm.
You know, all day long you're working with people who've done horrific things to others, and on top of that they're cussing you out left and right, and then they turn around and demand you give them their tray. Like, you know, it's a hard, thankless job.
Sure.
So anyway, when I'm talking to this guy, I said, "Listen, my man, I'm not even asking on behalf I'm asking on behalf of your future self. Because here's the deal. In 2 years, you're going to be 2 years older, and you can either have this be a distant memory, or you still getting placed based off of a new assault off a CEO."
That's right.
Well, I did go back to that prison. I went back to do a follow up 4 months later, and I went down. And do you know that that guy never did anything? And when I called him in, he was like, "You know, I thought about what you said." And he was like, "From even if I just did it for myself." So that's an example of yield theory, meeting people where they are.
Yeah.
What was important to him was not to do the honorable thing for others. What was important to him in that moment was to protect his own future self. Great, we'll use it. I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
take it.
That's what it comes down to, is that people aren't going to fix themselves unless they want to fix themselves.
Right.
I mean, that's
Right.
a simple
Yep.
theory out there, but a simple statement is that if they're not willing to hear it, whatever you're presenting to them at the time, then it's no skin off your back. You know, you're living it. If they don't want to, that's it's
100%.
they're in the choice that they're in. And same thing with
100%.
athletes, right? You have the flip side. You have these people that are making millions of dollars now that have got into this mental state that they're in, whatever it may be, anger issues, or they're unable to handle whatever's, recoveries or whatever else that you deal with them. Um, if they're not willing to hear it, then it is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes people will say, "Oh, this isn't going to work every time." Of course, it's not going to work every time. Like, one of the first things I say when I train corrections officers is, "That's why I tell you to train as if your life depends on it. You should be in great shape because you are going to have to go in on inmates sometimes."
Yep.
That's a fact. With
Yep.
the proliferation of K2 and some of the other drugs,
Yep.
sometimes people are out of their minds.
For
So
sure.
you can't always talk people down.
Right.
But what happens is, if somebody's in a spot of low consciousness and they hear that, then they're just going to try to go in on everybody and be like, "See, the doctor said you can't even calm everybody down." So, they're just going to listen for what they want to hear.
Yep.
Conversely, somebody who's disgruntled will be like, "Man, that doesn't work. I've seen it." Great. I didn't say it works every time. What I'm saying is, you have a better chance of connecting with somebody if you set your own ego aside and meet people where they are, than if you, well, I call it the fool on the mountain, than if you stand on the mountain and just demand that people be up on top of the mountain with you. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not saying everything's 100%. I'm saying it's better to lead with humility than it is to lead with arrogance and know-it-all condescending energy.
I'd like to shift into the athletes, because I think that's a really cool part of what you do. So when you work with athletes, what do you do? We'll stick with that very
Yeah, I
basic
mean, I'd
question.
say throw in professionals as well, like working professionals, like CEOs that are running huge companies, things like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, when I work with people, I mean, I meet them where they are, and it depends what they want to work on. If you want to talk about athletes, I mean, it could depend on the athlete and what he or she is going through.
Hmm.
But when you talk about professional athletes, so ultimately, if you want to perform at your best, it's you and whatever you're doing. It's not about having your mind. It's not thought. It's like being complete. It's when your mind and body are at one. That's what we would call the state of flow or the zone, when your mind and body are one. Okay, so to get to that spot, you want to get rid of what's called mental clutter. So if you have a bunch of thoughts in your mind, that's stopping you from just performing what you're doing. Okay, here's a good example. Let's say you're a basketball player and you think you should have gotten a call. So you think you should have gotten a call for the foul. So you start talking to the ref. You should have called that. The play's still going on. They're still going on down there, and you're sitting there going, "You should have called that foul." You have to have a short memory in sports. you're talking about what should have happened. This is what's actually happening.
Yeah.
So how can you teach athletes, or how do I teach athletes? What I do is I teach them how to be present. So we have one thing we haven't talked about yet is there's a difference between what I call the cartoon world and the real world.
Mm.
The cartoon world is our world of shoulds. People should think, feel, believe, and behave the way I say they should. And then there's a real world, how people actually think, feel, believe, behave. And as long as we align our expectations with our cartoon world, we're let down. But here's the catch: the world's not letting us down. The world just is what it is. What's letting us down are our own expectations.
Mm.
So I spent the better part of more than a quarter of a century teaching people to align their expectations with reality. So to that basketball player, if you are caught up in your cartoon world, you're missing out on what's actually happening. I teach people how to recognize their cartoon world and call it. So I always tell people I didn't come up with the world of shoulds. Karen Horney in the 1950s called it the tyranny of the should, like should is a tyrant. Albert Ellis in the late 50s, he said, "Don't should all over yourself."
That's good. That's
I
awesome.
thought that was good.
That is
So
good.
I call it. The only thing I've done is I call it the cartoon world, and I call it that because it's a fictitious world. Like someone cut you off, he shouldn't have done that. That's a cartoon. The real world is he did just cut you off.
Yeah, it happened. You got to deal with
Man,
it.
that is
Yeah. So now
interesting.
what?
I mean,
It's
this is actually happening live to me right now. My son's at a
wow.
baseball game right now, and I try to explain this. I read a book a while back with sports psychology. You can't control the uncontrollables. He plays baseball, tournament baseball. He's pretty heavily into it, and he's constantly yelling at people. Himself, he's just explosive. I'm like, dude, you got to learn. You're 10 years old. You got to get a grip on this now if you want to succeed in this.
Sure.
What do you recommend with that? Like, how do you add it for a 10
Well,
year old?
you ordered a great book that'll help him out because he's
Nice,
10. He must need to sit down and read on his own, but you could read it with him.
nice.
And that way, if there's any words that you could break down for a 10-year-old for
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
but that will teach him. But here's what I would say, because I like Jared's response to this cartoon world. Because I will tell you right now, if I could reach in people's hearts who are listening and give you one concept from today,
Hmm.
it's the cartoon world. It's a game changer.
I love
Like
that. Yeah,
I created the concept. I still have a cartoon. It doesn't mean you're not going to have a cartoon world. The difference is I can shine a light on mine and I can change it really
Man, we
quickly.
spend so much energy on
But
that
it doesn't
crap.
mean I don't have it. But it's
what
literally the key
we
to
spend a lot
peace.
of time.
We
Is that what
spend
you said,
so
Jared?
much
In the cartoon
so
world,
much energy in the cartoon world. It's insane.
we do. We absolutely
It'll
do.
change. It'll change your life. It'll
I mean,
change
when
your
it's
life.
happening to me, which it 100% will, even after we hang up here, I'm just gonna laugh at myself and be like, "Yo, bro, you're living in the cartoon world. Just
Get back in reality.
let's anchor
Yeah.
back."
It will change your life. And here's the thing. I created a concept. I still have a cartoon world. The only difference is I can recognize it really quickly. Okay, that's a cartoon world. So now the reason why that can bring you peace is I don't need to spend time. So the a story, I say it's an ancient tale, but I made it up. It's a tale we use in yield theory, which I have a funny story that I don't know why this is hitting me now, but I
Love
remember
it.
this. But some guy ran into me and he was like, "Man, I don't know you. I don't know anything about you." And then he went on to tell the fool on the mountain. I was like, I made that story up. But
No.
you were reading my works and watching my videos and acting like you never heard of me. And that's kind of funny. Because when I first tell it, I say it's an old tale. So people are like, "Oh, he got it from
Oh,
somewhere."
it's
No, I made it up.
You
hilarious.
But
mean,
here's the here's the story. There was a man who was charged with leading a group of people up a mountain. So he takes off running full speed. He gets to the top of the mountain and he's like, nobody's with him. So he starts screaming, "You should be up here with me. I had it tough. I started down there." And he's giving them all the logic in the world. But the truth is they can't even see him, let alone hear him. So he becomes known as the fool on the mountain. So this story seems like, oh, this is a far off land tale. This is, if he really wanted to lead those people, the only thing he can do is go down and meet them where they are. Like that's the only, he has to have the self discipline to leave where he is and go meet them where they are. And he can get caught up in the logic of they should have followed me. You should have turned left when I turned. All those shoulds,
Hmm.
they can be logical and rational. They're not real because it didn't happen. So what happens is that cartoon world gets us caught up. Now, we get so caught up in the cartoon world because it's logical. No, I'm right. He shouldn't have said that. He shouldn't have acted that way. Great, you be right. You're never going to find peace because you're talking about what should have happened. Reality is he did do that. Now, if you can recognize he did it, now how do you adjust accordingly?
Right.
And that's where things change. So,
Is there a
yeah,
mixture?
it's a game
Huge.
changer.
And I think
Huge game
here's
changer.
something that's interesting, and maybe leaning into the athlete. And I'm sorry, it sounds like you still have an echo with me, so I apologize. I'm glad that Sam doesn't, which means that the recording won't. But
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, the recording won't. So
I'm
we're good.
so sorry, Doc. Here.
No worries.
So I think one of the reasons, as you're saying that, and I think this happens with athletes and most people, that we live in the should is because, at least for me, is I'm trying to learn from it. I'm trying to say, this happened, but this should have happened. And so next time when this comes up, I'm hoping the should becomes reality. You know, and I wonder if there's some value there, and at what point do you just like, okay, you're in cartoon for a little bit to gain some level of experience. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, do I see what you're saying? I was going to show you. Not only do I see what you're saying, but I want to show you something that's kind of
Gonna give you the okie doke here.
yeah, yeah. But it's funny because of even the way you just phrased it, is that it's going to give you some value there. So what I call shoulds in themselves are, oh man, I was going to try to pull it up. It would have been funnier if I could have found the exact quote. But they're value-based shoulds, and value-based shoulds are. It's not like if I literally declared, if you use the word should, that's wrong. Well, that's a should.
It would
So
be.
right? So
Yeah.
there's a difference between what I call. Apparently, I can't find stuff in my own book fast enough. But anyway, there's a difference between what I call those cartoon world shoulds and value based shoulds, because the value based shoulds are things like I should be on time to work. Great, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
There's a difference between me demanding something of myself and me demanding something of others and the outside world. So that's the cartoon world shoulds that gets you caught up in anger and angst and anxiety and depression and unrest. But the value based shoulds, that's a great way to live. Great, I should work hard. Great, stick with it. So I don't want to make the word should like a pariah that you can't ever use, because then that would be a cartoon world should as well. I love how you said that it's a value, because that's what I call them, value based shoulds.
Yeah.
They're okay to have. Again, you just don't want to demand the out. And you can do anything you want to do. All I'm trying to shine a light on is if you do this, you're less likely to have peace.
There it is.
If you
Yeah.
don't do that,
That
well,
was a good catch, man. Well done. That was an awesome good
yeah,
catch.
yeah,
We all know what it means. You're not going to find happiness and peace, people, unless you do these things. Let's be real.
exactly, exactly.
It's basic concept. Getting into the minds of other people in front of you, detaching your own ego, and hearing people out.
Yes, and really wanting to genuinely learn.
Yeah. Oh man, I have an awesome story. But way back to
That's
work
all
release
right.
people. Oh, he found
Sorry,
it.
gotta
He
get
found
the
it. There it
value
is.
based
What
shoulds.
page? What page is that?
That's on page 31, value-based shoulds. Because when Jared said it, he goes, well, there's a value. I'm like, yes, it's literally what I termed it.
Is
I
this the
call
new
it
book?
value-based shoulds. That's in Strong Mind,
Oh,
Strong
heck
Man,
yeah, dude.
yeah.
That's cool.
So,
And that was the first time I wrote about value-based shoulds. I just put it in my new book too, but
oh, that's awesome.
that's exactly what it is.
Your work is not solely on for men only. This is
No,
not like anger
that was
management
the
and all
first time
this.
I'm really glad you said that, because this is the first book I've ever done that was targeted for that, like an audience like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to write one that's parallel book for everyone on personal growth, but I wanted to do something for young men. Like I just see.
Well, we're
so
hotheads,
many-
right? Like they're just explosive, and I mean
Yeah.
we've always been explosive, but it's funny that we bring up we're not trying to be men centered. It just seems like we talk a lot about that on. We've only had a few shows, but we talk about that a lot just because we are coming from a guy's perspective.
Yeah, we're men.
A lot of this vulnerability, openness has not been a normal thing for men to speak about, and if you do, it's in a very tight knit environment, especially athletes, right? Athletes, the ego, you're talking about that. Like they don't want to talk about their feelings. It's probably super difficult for some of them to really open up about it, right? just
Yeah.
depending on their upbringings and stuff like that. So for everyone listening, we're not trying to always be men centered, but we are shining a light more on that. That this
Yeah.
this world of anger management, of course, anger management is out there, but there's biological things that happen when we get angry as men compared to women. Am I correct with that?
Of course. And listen, this you are men, so you're going to talk about your experience. That's not wrong or bad to be able to talk
Right.
about it. Like I think in our society over the last several years there has been confusion to even talk about it. Like it's almost like if you talk about men's issue or say what is specifically a man that you're almost an outcast
Yeah.
or
Right.
doing
It's
something
like,
against someone else. I'm not
no.
just because I'm talking about what it means to be a strong man. It doesn't mean I'm against someone else.
No,
Is
it's
that the
like
ego
there's a
then talking, right? If we go back to the basics, it's their ego getting involved with. I'm talking
Yeah,
about everyone, right? Talking, we all go through all this.
no,
right.
it's been crazy the past bit. It really has, and it's luckily
Yeah, it has. I mean, it's become in many ways like some of those books about the future. Seemed like that. I mean, that
1984.
1984
Yeah, yeah,
or
Yep.
Brave New World. Like
Yeah.
we've seen
oh,
things where people are like the stuff that was written in fiction.
I
Right.
know.
2 plus 2 is not going to be 4.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that's come out to. So I saw a need. I saw a need where I think there are a lot of great male role models that are physical strength, and that's awesome. It's a beautiful aspect to life. I just wanted to show that there's a strength in having self control.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a strong male role model for young men to understand that if you really want to have strength, you've got to be able to control your own inner world. Like a cool fact is in the history of humanity, of everyone who has ever lived, you are the only person with unrestricted, unfiltered access to your mind.
That's huge.
It's enormous. So if
Yeah.
your mind is a place of peace, keep doing what you're doing. But if you have anger, angst, anxiety, depression, you're the only one who can change it. The only one.
That's
So
right. You got to step back on that ego and realize that I need to change.
What do you?
yeah,
What are your like signals that you've seen in yourself and others where it's like, hey, I'm feeling pretty good, I'm living pretty well, I'm pretty balanced, but then fill in the blank happens, and I find myself just starting to go off the rockers, and maybe it's like for a week where I'm just like living in anger or something. I'm curious if you've some kind of typical things that you've seen, and then how you help people to identify them and then quickly come back to the positive path. Let's say,
Are you saying like triggers, Jared? Like
yeah, triggers is great. Yep.
triggers. Okay.
Yeah.
well, the way I heard your question, I actually just dealt with this with someone last week. So I kind of this maybe I'm off, but this is how I heard it. I had someone get so caught up in what I call an anger target. I guess that's something else I contributed to anger management. An anger target. So an anger target is essentially a scapegoat, but on a personal level. So maybe you see someone on television and you don't like them, and so you project all this anger onto them, and you like they somehow are the source of your anger, even if you have nothing to do with them, whether it's a political figure or a
Right.
celebrity or something. And so, but it happens in your personal life too. Let's say somebody makes you their anger target. So you guys have a podcast.
Hmm.
So now they go, somebody from your hometown, they go, who you think you are? You think you're everything because you do that. And then they just start running with an imaginary story about you because you've become their anger target.
Mm.
And when that happens, that throws people off because they become obsessed with it. And it's unfortunate, but it is a reality that happens. I've certainly been the recipient of being people's anger target, where it's just fascinating to see what they make up and run with. Um, so, what do you do when you find that? If you find yourself doing, and this kind of, we can probably circle everything back to this.
Yeah, I figured we would do that.
I was on a radio show the other day. They were asking me about violence, and I said, "Listen, this don't let this be cliche. It comes back to every person. Like literally every person listening. You're the only person you can control.
Hmm.
Every person. So if you found something that you heard today that you're obsessing about, or you want to get onto one thing, like if somebody's stuck in their ego, they'll look to find one thing that they disagree with, and then they'll create a whole narrative that because they they disagree with that, then everything must be wrong. Um, and that's just kind of a person's locked in ego.
Yeah.
So what do I do? Well, I try to help people step outside of that. Just see a different side of the box. Expand your vision on it, and maybe you're not 100% right about it. I think that's a really good thing. I'll give you one more thing. I know we're probably winding down, but I'll give you one more thing that I think is a good technique,
Mm-hmm.
and that is I call it the sans adjectives. This is another technique I came up with. So think about this. The last time you were angry,
Mm-hmm.
think about what you were angry about. And then think about the adjectives you used in your mind. Okay? Maybe somebody cut you off. There's no good, selfish, self-centered mother. Like you just go on and on. So with sans adjectives, sans just means without. So what it is I have people, when I do the technique, I'll usually, if it's a group, I'll have people write about whatever they were pissed about for like 2 minutes. And I say, don't hold back. You can burn this paper when you're done. Nobody has to see it. Be honest. And they'll write. And then the second time, I say, what I want you to do this time is write about the exact same event, except this time, take away all the adjectives. So I have, first time I did it with a big group of officers, this young girl, she stood up and she said, I got to share mine. I said, please. So she said, the first time you had us write, I wrote about my stupid boyfriend. And she said, I wrote, he's so dumb, he does this, he does that. She said, the second time I wrote about the same event, here's what I wrote. My boyfriend and I had a disagreement. I say, young lady, welcome to the world of relationships. You're going to have disagreement, and that's okay. But do you understand the difference between that? And we come back to the words and how your words impact your feelings.
Yeah.
If you say, this is awful, terrible, horrible, you can't stand it, you're going to be really upset. But if you go, yeah, we had a disagreement, it's not the end of the world. Your language is very powerful. That's why I wouldn't want someone to get so hung up on the non-attachment and think, so I'm not anything I think. No, be mindful that your words impact how you feel in a big way.
Yeah.
So pay attention to what you're saying to yourself. The more extreme words, the more extreme feelings, the more balanced words. Or what I say is this accurate language. The more accurate you are. So let's say with your kids, if your kids go, nobody ever listens to me. You sit them down, you say to your son, because you may have daughters too, but I heard son, so it's a 10-year-old son. Nobody listens to me, Dad. Okay, son, that means that 8 billion people, not a single person, has ever listened to you once. That's not accurate.
It's a lonely island, man.
And if that's the case, that's effed up right there. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
But if we're accurate, what you might say is, Mom didn't listen to what I said earlier. And if we get even more specific or accurate, it might be, she listened, but she didn't give me what I wanted. Okay.
Yep.
Now you go, Mom didn't give me what I wanted. Okay. You're not going to get everything you want. That's cool. I'm kind of glad she did that. That's a wonderful lesson. You ought to thank her because life's not going to give you everything you want. What a beautiful lesson your mother taught you.
Sounds like my car rides back and forth. This is it every time.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Jared knows.
Yeah, I know. Well, did you?
So I'm gonna ask. Go ahead, Jared.
No, you got it. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask you a more personalized question. You have all these tools and self-care things that you do. Your personal life, right? I'm sure there's people out there thinking, well, this guy, he's got it made. He's probably perfect with his relationship. He's probably sitting down with his wife, like, yeah, I'm using all these tools. So I'm sure in your life, married with her, things weren't perfect always. That's absurd to think, right?
Of course, yeah.
So do you find it right now might be easier, but in the beginning, as you were going up and having these different tools that you learned, how did you implement them in your own relationship?
So first of all, my wife and I have been married for 25 years this year. We are happier now than we've ever been, hands down.
Yeah, I imagine
last year, my wife went through cancer, and it was the most devastating year of our lives. She's okay now. She's healthy, and she's doing great.
Awesome.
So, but going through that process amplified our gratitude to be able to have moments with each other, to have life, to be alive. All of this stuff that I teach, we live it. We've been living it our whole marriage. Of course, we didn't get married and everything went perfect. Of course not. Of course, we had our ups and downs. If there's a rule that I can say that we definitely held fast to, was we never called each other names. Like that was from day one.
Mm.
Like no matter how angry we ever got, we never called each other names. Um, I think that's incredibly helpful.
Sure.
What we do now that is so helpful. This is a game changer for anybody in a relationship. We look at each other like we're locked in for life. Like there's no chance. Like we are dialed in for life.
I know
So if
that.
we have a disagreement, she'll look at me or I'll look at her. Like we know we're going to get through it. We know it's going to have a beginning, middle, and end.
Yep.
We know that at some point we're going to come to the. So we just fast forward to that part. We go,
Hell yeah.
okay. At some point we're going to figure this out. Let's just figure it out now. And the difference is that I have a partner who grows equally. Like we meditate together. We talk about stuff. We use accurate language. We're both really well aware that our mind wants to match our body. So I mean, I could look at my wife and be like, if I seem agitated or irritable, I'll be like, listen, you look like a piece of pizza to me. So
My
until I
man.
eat something,
Yeah.
until I eat something, I'm not ready to talk
Yes.
about something. But I'll give you a real life example.
That's
2 days
awesome.
ago, I was we were out in the sun, and I'm Italian. I get tan pretty quick, but my wife and daughter laugh because I'll be like, we were outside for so long. You walk outside 20 minutes and you're tan. But I said, for whatever reason, the other day, I got sun poisoning, and I was so nauseous.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
bad.
on Sunday, and when you're nauseous, remember your mind wants to match your body.
Yep.
Your body mimics anxiety, um, agitation, irritability. So what I said, this is literally 2 days ago. So I said, I'm incredibly nauseous. Nothing is personal. Like everything I'm feeling right now, I think I got sun poisoning from heat. I don't know what it is. So that's how we communicate. And so, like the whole day, it's like, of course, there's a check in at one point. Are you sure you're not mad at me? Yeah, I'm positive. I'm not mad at you. Like
I love
I'm
that. So
positive.
you're explaining like this is what I'm going through. I get hangry, but it's on a hot side. So when I
Okay.
get hot
Love
and
that.
humid, it's all bets. Like it's off. I'm like, I don't want to be touched. Just leave me alone, kind of thing. Like I get irritable, but I bring it out, and people know the expectation. Like I am the way I am because I'm short. I'm irritable because I'm hot. It's not.
So,
It's not personal.
so the hypothalamus,
Hmm.
hunger, thirst, fatigue,
Mm,
body temperature.
there it is.
So it's all right there, and that's why. So, and this is something that we laugh. Um, I taught my daughter this stuff since the time she was young. I mean, she learned the brain since the time she was young. She would literally say things like, "Daddy, I'm in my hypothalamus right now,"
Love it.
and
That's awesome.
you could teach your kids this, and
Heck yeah.
they could start saying it. And the more you teach them to just articulate what's going on, you're not wrong or bad. If you feel agitated, that's normal.
Yep.
But you don't have. So the part that so I told you about the cartoon world, that's life changing. The other piece that I get to share with the world that I feel like I was able to contribute to psychology is that your mind wants to match your body. Because what I say is, if you can understand that your mind's trying to create a story and you don't create the story, instead you go, acknowledge it, be mindful of it. I feel really agitated and irritable. Like what you would say to your family,
Yep.
I'm hot, I'm so agitated right now, I'm just in my hypothalamus. Nothing is personal. And then no matter what, you have to challenge when your ego will say, I am hot, but I already acknowledged this, so now it must be my wife or it must be my kids. So
Mm,
your ego will be chipping away at you,
yeah.
trying to find a
Oh my
reason.
gosh.
Yeah.
And your intellect will say, but I already told them, so it can't be that. It must be them now. No,
Oh,
it's
always that.
still
Still
trying
that.
to find a reason.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Wow.
valid. So you just have to keep checking back in with yourself. Like, no, it's still this.
100%.
Yeah.
I love
So
it.
the other day when I was sick, I just had to keep coming back. There's nothing anybody is doing.
No.
I'm just really nauseous and it's uncomfortable,
Mm,
but it'll have a beginning, middle, and end.
that's right.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Dang,
Well,
man.
listen, I really enjoyed talking to you guys. You guys are fantastic.
Oh, dude.
You're
Um,
fantastic, dude.
Ditto,
I
man.
mean,
We
dang, I just want to peel back that onion of yours, man, of your life. Seems like you had a pretty sweet life.
yeah. Well, we can.
I feel blessed. I focus on what works. I don't focus on what doesn't work.
Yeah.
I've definitely gone through darkness, and I've sat with people through their darkness.
Absolutely. You have
But
to see
I
both
don't.
sides of the world, it seems. That's
Yeah,
huge.
but I don't focus on what's not working. I don't focus on things I don't want. Like, it's really simple. Focus on what you want, not on what you don't.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Right.
What's next for you? What do you obviously you got your new book. So what is your current projects? You still bouncing around the different prisons around the country, or you
Yeah,
hanging out in Pennsylvania, or what?
I'm doing less stuff in prison. I'm still doing stuff in prisons for sure. Maybe less than what I was doing 2 years ago, but I'm still doing stuff in prisons. I'm still doing stuff in sports. What's next for me, the biggest project, is we're going to launch the International Yield Theory Institute. And so really passionate about that. I want to train people. You might be interested to come do it. Become a yield theory trainer, get certified in yield theory.
That'd be sweet.
Jared used the word at the onset of this show, intentionality, which is beautiful. That's what it is. So when I teach people what theories are, you sign up for a counseling class. I loved my time as a professor. I didn't like all the other stuff that came with it, but the teaching part I love. But when I was a professor, what I would say to students who got in counseling theories, oh, this sounds esoteric and really complex. In the same way that martial arts, you learn a martial art. So in Muay Thai, your hands are out front because you're trying to grab behind the neck, throw elbows. In the same way that you have a style of a martial art, but the moment a street fight breaks out, you're going to do whatever works, but you're still rooted in your style. In counseling, you have an approach that's a theory that gives you intentionality that you can come back to no matter what happens. So, for example, if you practice cognitive behavioral therapy, no matter what someone tells you, because you're never going to have all the experiences of others. In my belief, you're never going to have anybody's experiences. But I'm never going to have other people's experiences. So whenever someone tells me something, if I'm practicing CBT, I say, your thoughts are causing your feelings. So I help you figure that out. If you're practicing Rogerian therapy, you're going to reflect. You're going to hold up a mirror for that person. If you're practicing yield theory, you're going to meet people where they are. No matter what they tell you, you're not going to take it personal. You're going to listen. You're going to validate. You're going to explore options. You're not going to be attached to needing to be right. And you're going to try to help them figure out what can they do with what they have from this moment forward. That's the intentionality. And the more intentional you are, the more you practice it, the better you get. So yes, I will tell you, I spent my whole life working to make all this stuff sound so easy. My hope is somebody listens to the show and they go, oh, that guy's teaching common sense. That's all so easy.
You're like, yes, thank
Great.
you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I love it. But I also broke down some Carl Jung. I broke down some
If it was
deep
common
philosophy.
sense, man, then we want to be dealing with the world that we're living in, right? I mean,
Yeah.
common sense is this bullshit that we're all living in. Part of it is just like, what the hell are we doing? Like, let's live with common sense practices, right?
Yes, and intentionality, and keep going inward. Just keep going inward. This is why I love what you guys are doing. You're bringing a great awareness. So I'm glad to meet you guys.
We
And,
appreciate you,
yeah.
man. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Oak Road Diaries. We really appreciate you, and we really, really do hope that it added even the tiniest bit of value to your life.
If you felt that the conversation resonated with you, we invite you to share it because you really never know who needs to hear this today.
You can find more tools for intentional living and the 7 pillars of transformation at thehappyatrium.com or connect with us on our socials at thehappyatrium. We'd love to see and interact with you there.
Until next time, keep tending to your inner child, one breath, one step, and one story at a time.
Take care, and we'll see you down the road.